A fully healthy Red Sox roster may just be a dangerous team. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin. The Red Sox were able to take care of business this weekend, taking a series W from the Detroit Tigers, winning 2 out of 3 games. That now puts them at 62 and 56 on the year, 3 games out of third place in this division, and more importantly, 3 games out of a wild card spot. And I think the big story with this weekend was just how impactful the players coming off the IL are to this roster and were to the games in this series. So what we are going to do in this video is break down the latest Red Sox series. We're going to talk about all the highlights from this series. We're going to talk about why it's so important that these guys coming off the IL had great starts, both on the pitching side of things and in this lineup. And we're going to talk about how it could impact the rest of the 2023 season. Plus, we're going to be talking about some things the Red Sox need to improve on going forward. But before we get into that, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. Helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. Okay, so obviously let's start by talking about the offense in this series, and for the first time in a little bit, the Red Sox offense felt as though they were picking themselves up a little bit. There still was a tough offensive game kind of smack dab in the middle of this series, but in 2 out of 3 of these games, they were able to score 5+ runs, which is a really great sign. The star of the show in this series had to have been Trevor Story, though, because Trevor Story came and played 2 games in this series, and in those 2 games, he went 6 for 8. That included a 4 for 4 day in the third game of the series where he had 3 doubles and 2 stolen bases. And I don't think anyone was expecting Trevor Story to hit the ground running the way he did in this one. Yes, there were some lucky-ish hits in here, but you could tell for the most part that timing appears to have come back, and it's come back at the perfect time. I think a lot of people underestimate just how dynamic of a player Trevor Story is and just how big of an impact he can have on this team. And I think we saw exactly what the full dynamic, true Trevor Story could look like in this series. The question now is, how well can he maintain his timing, right? Can he keep his timing where it is and continue to mash pitches, or will that timing kind of come and go as he starts getting used to Major League Baseball pitching again? That's the biggest question mark in my book going forward. Justin Turner also came back. Now, he wasn't technically on the IL, but for those of you who do not know, Justin Turner is dealing with a bone bruise on his heel. Doctors told Justin Turner that if he really wanted to get this healthy, he would have to wait 4 to 6 weeks to come back and play baseball. Justin Turner, being the guy that he is playing through that injury. So he's not even 100% out there, but he's still being extremely productive. In the 2 games that he played in this series, he went 4 for 9 with a home run in each game. Having even 85% Justin Turner in the middle of this lineup is like day and night. The dude is such a difference maker in this lineup. Everything he brings to the table helps this team win ball games. And again, even not at 100%. I mean, the dude's essentially playing on 1 foot right now. He was still able to hit 2 home runs and help this team win this series, and that is really, really impressive. Tristan Casas also had another home run in this series, and he's turning into one of the most productive players not only on this team, but in all of Major League Baseball, at least at the plate, right? He has looked really good at the plate for a really long time. This was a 3-run shot that really was the difference maker in the first game. He's also still maintaining that plate approach, which I really, really love, right? He's more aggressive on pitches inside of the zone, but he's not getting overly aggressive because he's been successful with his latest plate appearances, right? He's not just swinging at everything because he thinks he can make contact at everything. He was still able to take 3 walks in this series, which to me is a fantastic sign that this success that we're seeing from Tristan Casas is sustainable. Adam Duvall had 2 hits in this series, and even though that may not be a lot, they ended up being vital to winning this series, with both of them coming in the last game, a 3-run home run and an RBI single. It's still really impressive that Duvall doesn't make a ton of contact in general, but when he does, it always feels like it's going to be a super impactful hit, and it really always is. It's always an RBI. It's always a late game double. It's always somewhere where the team really needs a hit. Adam Duvall comes through. So even though his average is still pretty low, those hits remain very important. Connor Wong also kind of had a sneaky productive series here. He ended with 3 hits like Duvall, but RBIs in 2 games and a big RBI triple in the 3rd game as well. I really like Connor Wong as a starting catcher on this team. I think one of the more underrated parts of the 2023 Red Sox has been the sort of impact of Connor Wong's full athleticism on this team, right? Defensively, offensively and on the base pass. You're seeing a lot of really interesting ways Connor Wong's affecting games, and it's something I don't think a lot of people are talking about too much. Overall, when you're talking about the offense as a whole, like I said, the biggest impact moments from individual players in this series came from guys coming back from the IL, which felt desperately needed, right? The Red Sox offense has been in a little bit of a funk for a while now, and to get this sort of elevated play from your reinforcements off the IL could do wonders for your offense. Now, obviously, there were still some concerns in this series, and I think it comes down to guys being in funks, right? And it was the offense as a whole. Now it's sort of guys in particular. Masataka Yoshida has been struggling for a little bit now. It feels like it's been a very long time since we've seen Masa make legitimate, consistent, hard contact. It feels like a lot of his balls are getting rolled over or they're getting popped up, and he's not getting a true hard hit. Rafael Devers is struggling again. We've seen him pull himself out of this sort of funk before. Hopefully we can do it again. I wonder if he's dealing with an injury or something. Then you've got Duran and Doogie also going through their funks as well. So the most impressive thing to me regarding this offense is that those are sort of your four real key players in this offense, right? Especially between Rafael Devers and Masa. Those are supposed to be your two best hitters. They really aren't on their game right now, and you're still getting legitimate, huge contributions from everyone else in this lineup. And to me, it goes to show just how good this offense can be when it's put together and fully healthy. As for the pitching in this series, Game 1 saw the return of one Christopher Allen Sale, and oh my lord, was it a great return for Chris. He ended up going 4 2/3 innings, allowing just one hit and technically 2 earned runs, but he was perfect through 4 innings and he struck out 7. The only reason he was really even pulled was because he reached his pitch limit. If what we saw out there is the Sale that the Red Sox are going to get going forward, that could be a fantastic development. Even if he's limited to just 5 innings the rest of the year, his velo looked good, his movement looked good, the command on his pitches, which had been an issue earlier in the year, looked incredible, right? Everything looked like it was falling into place for Chris Sale during that start. Now, obviously, you're talking about Chris Sale doing well against the Detroit Tigers, who have one of the worst offenses in baseball. So really, it's going to be interesting when he's up against a more aggressive opponent, a better opponent at the plate. But either way, regardless of who he was playing against, Chris Sale coming back and being able to do that could do wonders for this Red Sox rotation. Game 2, we got Brian Bayo, and he continues to really struggle on the mound. It's been a bit of a rough month and a half for Brian Bayo. He ended up going 4 2/3 innings, giving up 4 earned runs on 9 hits, including 2 home runs. Right now, Bayo's biggest problem is coming from figuring out how to utilize his third pitch. Whether it's the slider or the cutter or a combination of both, those two pitches are getting absolutely crushed right now, right? His sinker and his changeup still look really dominant, but to be a starter in Major League Baseball, you can't usually rely on 2 pitches. You need that sort of third put-out pitch at the bare minimum for when you really need to get someone out. And right now, especially to lefties, that third pitch for Bayo is getting absolutely crushed. Now, this is pretty common amongst younger players, especially really, really new players to Major League Baseball, right? This is only Bayo's first year. There are going to be bumps like this. Guys are going to figure out, hey, if we just wait on the slider or the cutter, we can crush that pitch, right? That's going to happen. It's all about making adjustments now. It's figuring out, hey, when can I utilize the cutter? When can I utilize the slider where it gets hitters off balance as opposed to them just sort of waiting on it to crush it, right? That's what Brian Bayo's got to do going forward. And honestly, I have full faith he'll be able to do that. But until then, this is probably going to be something we see going forward until he can make those adjustments, is guys just simply sitting back, especially lefties, waiting for that slider or cutter. In the third game of this series, speaking of cutters, Cutter Crawford got the ball in to finish this one out, and he also went 4 2/3 innings. Interestingly enough, every single starter in this series was pulled with 2 outs in the 5th inning, and every single one of these starters had vastly different outcomes, right? Chris Sale had that perfect, almost perfect 4 2/3 innings. Bayo really struggled, and Cutter was pretty decent. He ended up with 2 earned runs on 3 hits and striking out 3. I would say a pretty good outcome for Cutter Crawford, right? Even though he gave up the home run, which is what I've been preaching for Cutter not to do all year. I know obvious, but look at the statistics between when he gives up a home run and when he doesn't. Either way, he was still able to give you a productive inning and really help push this team towards the series win. Now, as for the bullpen, I would say overall it was pretty good, right? There were some iffy moments, but I think in totality, the bullpen did its job. Shout out to Chris Murphy, who really saved the bullpen in the the first game of this series. Murphy was able to go 3 no-hit innings with 2 walks and 4 strikeouts. Another big name to come back from the IL made an appearance in this series as well. Garrett Whitlock returned as bullpen Garrett Whitlock, which we haven't seen in a little bit. He was able to hit 97 on his fastball. He went 2 innings. He struck out 2. There was a run scored against him, but it wasn't an earned run, and he looked fantastic, right? I think we've already talked about this, but I really do believe that this is the role Garrett Whitlock should be in for the rest of the year, right? We talked about it already. I thought Garrett Whitlock deserved the opportunity to be a starter, but he couldn't remain healthy, and I really think what he can bring to this bullpen down the stretch specifically, giving it a little bit of depth, giving it a little bit of length, and being the guy we know Garrett Whitlock can be out of the bullpen is going to be massive for this team down the stretch. So I love what he was able to do in his first outing back. Again, like Chris Sale, it was against the Tigers, so we're going to have to see what that looks like overall, but a very good start. Outside of him, I think the rest of the bullpen did their job, and the pitching in general did their job outside of Bayo in this series, right? It's a second series in a row where you really just needed to be able to shut down a bad offense, and you were able to do that. In terms of the series as a whole, you saw just how impactful a healthy roster can be, and I know you're sitting there like, no crap, Corbin. Of course, a healthy roster can be impactful, but take a look at what they were able to inject into this Red Sox team just over the weekend with guys coming back, right? Chris Sale coming into this rotation, being Chris Sale, Garrett Whitlock really kind of shoring up the bullpen and sort of filling that hole that's really been missing over the last couple of weeks. Trevor Story, Justin Turner injecting some life into this Red Sox offense. This is what the Red Sox were supposed to look like, and it's not even their best baseball yet, right? Because you still have guys offensively who should be contributing but are slumping right now. So in my opinion, and the reason this video is titled "The Red Sox Can Be Very Dangerous When Healthy," the reason this thumbnail says dangerous is because this team could look really good fully healthy. And we talked about it going forward, right? Down the stretch, one of the biggest components of the Red Sox making a push towards a playoff, or at the very least being competitive in September, is staying healthy, right? So we'll see kind of how that goes, but it felt really great to have big moments from guys who haven't been contributing for the last couple of weeks, the last couple of months, or even the entire year. It felt like this team was finally getting together, and the question is whether or not it was at the right time, right? Is it too late? Is it going to be too early? Can the Red Sox all get on the same page? Can you get guys like Rafael Devers, Jarren Duran, Masataka Yoshida, Alex Verdugo going at the plate and really start turning these gears, fighting to get back into this true wild card race? That's really the biggest question here. But again, I really think this fully healthy roster, once they get clicking, is going to be a very dangerous team. This ain't over yet, but that's just my opinion. So let me know in the comment section down below. What did you think of this latest series? What did you think of the Red Sox winning these games? What did you think of the Red Sox loss in this series? What did you think of the players coming back from the IL and having the impact that they did? Let me know all your thoughts on the latest Red Sox series in the comment section down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. Helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the red seats.